This is the burning issue on the happy world of 5FM radio, bringing you hot, smoldering topics on a weekly basis. Your participation is important.
And yes, it's a Thursday edition of the Burning Issue here on the Happy World of 5FM radio. We are also live on our partner radio stations. We are live on iWave FM radio in Chingola, covering the rest of the Copper Belt. And that's on 90.1 FM. Live on Tuta FM in Mansa, 90.7 FM. And we are also live in Muchinga province, in Chinsali to be precise. That's where Muchinga radio is, and that's on 88.1. Live also in Central Province, Kabwe, on Spice FM on 91.1. And here in Lusaka, it's 89.9 here on 5FM radio. We are also live beyond Lusaka. We are live in Southern Province, and we are on Wave FM on 98.7. I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, everywhere around the world, the state of democracy is becoming increasingly uncertain, facing threats that seem more pronounced with each passing day. There is a clear trend of democracy backsliding as undemocratic regimes tighten their grip, limit freedom of expression, and erode the rule of law. This is an extract from the 2024 flagship report from the V-Den Institute, a leading authority on the study of democracy worldwide. One of the important topics of discussion today on the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue. Other than that, we also have a couple of topics to look at. And all you need to do is stay tuned as we are about to take off. My guest today is a renowned Lusaka lawyer in Makebi Zulu. Welcome to the program and good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Zach, and good morning, listeners out there.
How have you been?
I've been happy. How have you been?
Happy New Year. Happy
New Year,
everything.
Happy everything. Happy Women's Day. Happy Youth Day.
You know,
as we look forward to Easter.
Obviously, we hosted you. We had you and Justice Ministry. And we had quite a fruitful discussion. Obviously, we'll be looking with follow-ups on what we had discussed at that time. And I think that there is also the fact that, this government made sure that, the Access to Information Bill became an act and it's law. And we discussed it last time.
Yes, please.
Yes, and so we'll just have a look at it. But generally, first things first, let's discuss the issues surrounding the registration of UKA. And there is talk now that UKA is Edgar and Edgar is UKA. How true is that?
You see, that's a very interesting question, and I wouldn't really want to delve into issues relating to UKA presently, because it's another story that shows how undemocratic our country is becoming. It's an annoying subject, whereas UKA is welcomed by each and every Zambian that was looking forward to an alternative voice. Each and every Zambian that was looking forward to the opposition coming together. We have seen machinations by the government to stop the registration of UKA. Now, I'm going to give you this example. Mao Sampa holds a supposed conference on the 24th of October,
right?
A public holiday. His conference finishes at about 21. The police, the IG are in the office waiting for Mao Sampa and his people to go and have their fingers uplifted, and they clear them before midnight on a public holiday. UKA goes to the police for clearance, and it has taken over a month.
It is supposed to take over a month, no more, no?
So who's fooling who? Who's fooling who in all this? So you can see that the rule of law, as it were, or indeed the interference of the executive in trying to ensure that the opposition does not thrive, trying to ensure that dissenting voices are not heard, I heard this, is it Matembo? Yesterday I was reading where he was saying that UCA only exists on social media. It's registered on social media. I was taken aback to say, okay, this is a civil servant who should be very civil in his approach to issues and should ordinarily give direction and advise those that are supposed to be making decisions as to the right procedures that they're supposed to take. But I'm not surprised what he has shown himself to be, because even at the time when there was the issue of the registration of names relating to the Patriotic Front, when Mao Sampa purported to have that conference, he was in the forefront trying to block us from getting the registration, or rather getting the office bearers. We paid for the office bearers, conducted a search there, paid all the fees that were required to be given, and were given the results of the search. As of 13th of November. Office bearers had not changed. And what did he do? He decided of giving us the results, or the status of the registration of the parties. And the charge necessarily was, why have you given the printout to a lawyer for the Patriotic Front? But there's now no law that says you can't give to a lawyer of the Patriotic Front, or any person for that matter. The only thing that has to happen is that the person must come, get an invoice, pay for it. After they pay for it, they're entitled to have the search results. And that's exactly what happened. But we saw what next happened. The registrar was surrendered to Cabinet Office. Like other people have been surrendered to Cabinet Office for doing the right thing. We have over 400 people that are sitting at home because they were surrendered to Cabinet Office. They were surrendered because they chose to do their job against the advice or instructions of those that are in power, who wanted them to do wrong things. But it's very comforting that we have men and women who are willing to stand their ground and be willing to be laid off, be willing to be surrendered to Cabinet for doing the right thing. Now the crisis that we're in is, whereas the government is saying we do not have money to, as a country, we are heavily indebted, you have 400 people that are sitting at home, getting their salaries, and there are people that are acting in their positions, incentively employ others because the system won't allow them to. But then those that are there have to be given an acting allowance, meaning that the government has to expend much more money on things that were not planned for. You didn't see anywhere in the budget for this country that they would allocate a particular amount of money for persons that were going to be acting, in particular positions, of those that were seemingly facing disciplinary charges, or those that were seemingly not compliant or compatible with the wishes of this government. And that is very disheartening, and it's something that we need to reflect on as a country. It's something that we need to interrogate as a country, and ensure that there's fair treatment of people, fair treatment of civil servants, fair treatment of each and every person in their conduct of duties, in their delivery of the services that they ought to deliver. We have to be prudent in the manner that we approach all these things. But alas, we are not about to see that anytime soon, because we have people that are in government that are serving interests of a political party and not the interests of the government, or indeed the interests of the people. Because we get into government, we campaign for serving the interests of the people, and that is ordinarily what you would expect. And
so do you see UCA getting the light of day in as far as registration is concerned?
Come rain, come sunshine, eventually the government would have to bow to the wishes of the people, because fighting UCA is not necessarily fighting the persons that have constituted UCA. It will mean fighting those the people of Zambia, because they're the ones that have called for the opposition to unite. They're the ones that have called for proper checks and balance in this country. They're the ones that do not want to see a fragmented opposition. They want an opposition that speaks with one voice, because they realize that when you speak with one voice, government is almost always on their toes to do the right thing. The moment government divides the opposition, then they're free. They think they're free to do whatever they want to do. But so far, government having failed do whatever they want to do, they know that this force that is coming, this UKA that is coming, they've got nothing against it. They've got nothing to say against it. So the only thing that they can try and do is to stop it from registering. But they can't stop it. They can only delay it. That's the comfort that I can give to the people out there, that they can't stop.
But how do you want to register it? Do you want to register it as a party, or and if it's not a political party, how do you expect it to participate in elections?
I must say that I'm not a spokesperson for UKA,
right?
But I have an interest in UKA by reason of my association to the Patriotic Front Party,
right?
And I would say that this. Let me be very clear about this. As a matter of fact, if the government thinks that UKA needs to be registered for it to function, they are having it all wrong. You have nothing that is registered with the Registrar of Societies known as the UPND Alliance. And yet we had the so-called UPND Alliance. That's what we had in the last election, where some political parties came together and they just said UPND Alliance. We can be UKA and then use one political party to field candidates in 2026. Who's losing? It's not the members of UKA, it's still the government itself. So it should not be, they should not be mistaken to say for as long as UKA is not registered, then it will not exist as a coalition of political parties. The coalition of political parties who are legitimately registered have come together under one umbrella called UKA, which does not necessarily need to be registered, but they can propagate their views and under that umbrella body and still operate as separate entities. But for purposes of elections, they can decide which party they're going to run with. If at all this proves to be difficult, the registration proves to be difficult. So they shouldn't be comfortable to say, okay, we're blocking this, therefore it will not happen, because eventually UKA will continue to exist, whether registered or not, but as an umbrella body, it will continue to exist.
There's word that, all these UKA issues and tricks are basically a conduit to have the former head of state recontest election.
Well, word could be there, but as far as UKA is concerned, it's a coming political parties for purposes of having just one goal, and that goal is to save the people of Zambia from the dominance of the UPND, which has not lived up to its promises. The discontentment right now that is going on in the country is to the effect that they made promises that they cannot keep. And having made those promises that they have failed to keep, having thrived on lies, having thrived on deceit, now they realize that you cannot use propaganda to run a government. They have tried and failed lamentably. So to suggest that one person is the one that is constituting UKA is in itself perhaps not the right approach to take to it, because it's different political parties that have come together for purposes of achieving one goal. And that goal is to save the people of Zambia. And this is not coming from President Edgar Chagwa. It is not coming from President Jackson Silavwe or Savoy Mboela or Chalakateka. It's coming from the people of Zambia that are saying, come together as one and help us keep this government in check. Maybe, just maybe, you could be the alternative to this government, because people are tired of listening to promises over and over again. There was promise that Milimi would be cheap as 50 kwacha. How much are we having it at now? It's 450 kwacha. and in some places it exceeds that amount. There was promise that fuel would cost 12 kwacha. What is it now? It's going to 30 now. It's over 30 kwacha. There was promise that fertilizer would be at 250 kwacha. What is it now? Over 1,000 kwacha for a bag of fertilizer. There was a lot of promises that were made. Obviously, thriving on the expectations of people. Those promises were made, and none, not a single promise, has been kept by this particular government. Instead, what do we see? The only thing that we've been seeing is that they are trying to kill the opposition for purposes of perpetuating their stay in government. But clearly, as things stand today, that is not going to happen. Perhaps this question of President Edgar Chagwa.
Yes, because I was coming to
Yes.
it. Also, while you are answering
Yes.
the issue of President Edgar Lungu, I mean, there was a statement by the Inspector General of Police on ECL inciting people to rise, and his statement on PF cadres as police officers. And I think you've heard these two statements. So I would want you to give us a detail of how you received this. And this sounds like the former head of state is in trouble. Soon, I can smell trouble because of the statement that he was quoted to be inciting Zambians to rise against this government.
You see, from the time Grafo Musamba became IG, he's been nothing but a joke, through and through. I don't know whether the issue of the statement made by Edgar Chagwa Lungu is as a result of linguistic deficiency on his part, failure to understand what was said by the former president. But I would mostly attribute it to linguistic deficiency.
But what did the president mean?
Well, what he meant is that, listen, you are on a bad trajectory. And this trajectory that you've embarked on is likely to result into these are the consequences that may result from that particular action. It is not the first time that that has happened. It is not the first time that people have arisen around the world for purposes of making sure that the government is held to account. And being held to account and failure to account sometimes may lead to the government having to shorten its stay in power. Look at Kenneth Kaunda in 1991. Before he could finish a term after having been elected, he was elected for a 5-year term. He had to cut it short because of the pressure, the demands of the people. Remember, we all are in these public offices by the will of the people.
Right.
So if the will of the people is that there should be a change, you can't fight that will of the people. And the good part is that the people have prescribed a way in which that will can be exercised. And one of the ways is impeachment. People may rise, petition their members of parliament to say, we want this man out. The pressure can be so high that even the UPND members of parliament could participate in the impeachment of President Hakainde Hichilema. They could.
But it's about his status in society. He should, I think the core is that he should mind what he says. The fact that he holds that status in society, it's inciting.
A status in society does not stifle your freedom of expression. But in any case, whatever he said does not amount to inciting. See, we hold different opinions and we analyze things differently. If you come to me or you go to any other lawyer, you have a problem. They may prescribe a way that they may want to deal with your issue. And another lawyer may have a different opinion. The very fact that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu held that view does not in any way make him mean that he went offside as regards that issue. The thing here is, which was something that I wanted to refer to, is that it seems that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu gives this government the most pressure. They can't sleep something and the whole government keeps quiet. It's like they are waking from their slumber. If President Edgar Chagwa Lungu is going to say anything at 10 hours, by 12 hours, Cornelius Mwita will have a press briefing to address what President Edgar Chagwa Lungu said. It seems that he is the biggest threat to them, and they're acknowledging that he's the biggest threat to them. Many people have risen to fame because of the attention that the government has given to them. So it appears to us, the people out here, that the person that they are mostly afraid of is President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So why not have him there if he's the person that is going to keep them in check the best? If the whole parliament put together is not putting this government to check because of the nature of the speaker that is there, or what has become of the house, then if President Edgar Chagwa Lungu is going to cause them to do something about it, and they can't listen to the members of parliament, then he should continue. He must continue to keep them in check. He must continue to speak for and on behalf of the Zambian people, because the concerns of each and every politician is to ensure that the people that they purport to represent have what they have, and that is exactly what has been going on. And we have made it a taboo to speak or say anything against President Hakainde Hichilema. If you say anything against him, it's like you've committed an offense. It shouldn't be like that. Today, I'm of the opinion that President Hakainde Hichilema should resign. He should resign because he has failed. On what ground? He has failed to govern this country.
How?
Okay. President Hakainde Hichilema gave us a calculator and promised us as to how he was going to cut out the middleman and reduce the price of fuel. Has he done that? No, he hasn't done that. President Hakainde Hichilema told us when there was climate issues that, listen, the reason we are having these problems when there was a reduction in the harvest and were problems 2019, 2020, he said, this is a leadership problem. It has got nothing to do with climate change. We have seen this before. We have known of climate change, but because of poor leadership, we are where we are. Now, what is he saying? He's the one who's shouting climate change the most.
Do you know what his defense is? Do you know what his defense is? Which I kind of agree with his defense.
He has no defense whatsoever.
I think that the promises that he made, most of them, he said them when there was room to correct certain things.
No.
It's like I'll use the beautiful lady in the studio. If I want to marry her and I'm telling her to let go of the other guy who beats her up, right? And I tell her, leave him now. Okay. And she decides to leave him 2 years later and she's disfigured. It'll be very difficult at that point to make her look as beautiful as the first time I saw her and started enticing her. So he says the environment was fertile to improve on most of the things 2-3 years before 2021, for example. And he says by the time it was 2021, a lot had been messed up.
Okay, so if I'm going to use your analogy, if at the time I am going to go for this beautiful girl that you are referring to, at that time I should be able to see that this girl is no longer the way she used to be. I should stop at that moment. I should correct my position at that moment. But if I go ahead and have my wedding, and I'm telling, and I inherit everything that he has, or everything. In fact, the man just walks away with nothing. You inherit my wife, you inherit my bedroom, you inherit everything that I had, and you promise that I am going to fix it. You didn't say I'll fix some of the things. You said I'm going to fix it. And then you come in, the things that you purport to have fixed, you're not the one who fixed them. See, you come into a house and you find that there's electricity, okay. You just go and turn on the power and you say, oh, I fixed the power. Look at what happened over the issue of load shedding. There is no project that the UPND carried out that enabled this country to have more electricity. It is the projects that the PF carried out. What does Mr. Hakainde Hichilema come and say? He sits and says, see, there's no load shedding. Within a year, we have ended load shedding. What project did they carry out within a year? apart from the very projects that the Patriotic Front had carried out. There was zero projects that he carried out. He went and commissioned Kafue Gorge for the second time. The Kafue Gorge was commissioned firstly by President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. He comes into power, he goes and commissions it for the second time. What new project can they talk about? They can't even point at one solar panel that has been put to add to the grid, except from continuing with the projects that we carried
But also
out.
you understand that the environment, indeed, even at global level, has not been favorable for this country. I mean, at the time you were in government, your regime, there was no war in Russia and Ukraine, for example, not even Israel. And these have an effect on fuel, which you say, you know, where's the fuel for 5 kwacha? I mean, it's unrealistic.
Okay, let's assume that you are right.
Yeah.
But let's bring it to the issue of the dollar. He comes and says, "Sway me in at 10 hours. By 14 hours, things will have changed." What fundamentals were going to be there to make the kwacha again at 14 hours? He said, "I've got friends out there. When I just come in, 28 billion kwacha is going to hit their accounts. We are going to have stability." What has happened? We had him have a press briefing where he was showing us graphs and was talking about pledges that were made to the government. And he looked at pledges as being development. Pledges are not development in any way. And when the priest, Father Salangeta, said, "Listen, you are talking about graphs. We are talking about food. People want food on their plates." Today, like Father Salangeta was a prophet, he has been proven right. Those graphs have not taken us anywhere. People are crying for food. They're crying for food out there in the rural areas. People are crying for food in urban areas. There's never been a time when people had to queue for milli meal in the longest possible time. But now people are queuing up for milli meal. Now you may say that the issue is because we are experiencing a drought. No, the effect of this drought are not supposed to be felt now. We're supposed to feel the effects of this drought next year. The time the UPND government to power, we had about 1.5 million metric tons of maize that was stored over a period of 3 years by the Patriotic Front party. And the thing was that it was stored, or it was being stored for purposes of raising it to 3 million metric tons, because we anticipated that because of the usual forecasting that we had, there would be times when we would need to feed the nation. When we know that on a monthly basis, we use about 200,000 metric tons of maize as a country to feed ourselves, and to have had it up to 1.5 metric tons meant that we had at least 7 months cover. If at all we didn't have any harvest, we didn't do anything, we're going to have 7 months or 7.5 months cover of food supply in this country. What did we see? We saw Mutolo coming and telling us, "We are going to export. We will not stop exporting. We export maize, we export the milli meal." We had Ambrose Rufuma come and tell us, "We have since collected $15 million from Congo. We'll be exporting to Congo." We had them telling us about exporting to Kenya. We had them telling us about even inviting others to come and do farming in this country. We had Chushika Sanda going to a warehouse and showing us that, "Look, we have plenty. We can even sell." What did they do? They sold. And I'll tell you this. If you conduct your investigation, now that you even talked about the Access to Information Bill, you will notice that most of the people that were buying maize from FRA were ministers in this government, or those that are part of this government. Senior officers were getting in touch directly saying, "Buy this, this person is coming to buy maize, sell this maize to them." And that very maize that was being sold, you'd have an issue where a metric ton was being sold at $120, $140, bought from FRA by ministers, and the next day they go to sell the same maize to FRA at $240, $280. That the maize didn't even have to move in most cases. The maize didn't even have to move. The same one that they bought, they sold back to FRA at a higher price. Most of it was sold out. Now you hear a joke of the year that now we would have to. Tanzania has offered to sell to Zambia some maize, but we're the ones who are selling maize to Tanzania. We're drought disaster. We have no food. We need food. He goes on CNN and says we need help. What does Cornelius Mutwa do? He goes to Southern Province, shows us 13,000 metric tons of maize and says the country is food secure. 13,000 metric tons, and you're saying the country is food secure? Are you telling us that your president is a liar? Of course he is a liar. Of course President Hakainde Hichilema is a liar. And it appears as though because he's a liar, even his ministers have gotten to lie. It's only, I was just talking to someone that it appears as though once a particular leader has a certain trait, the country tends to have that particular trait. President Edgar Chagwa Lungu used to jog almost every weekend, almost every other day. He used to jog. The whole country was up and jogging. President Hakainde Hichilema has told several lies. It appears that the country has become a country of liars. Now we have Cornelius Mutwa being an epitome of lies. He comes, holds a press briefing, says one thing. The next thing he wants to regurgitate and said, no, I was misquoted. You are misquoted. In this age of technology, everything is being kept online. And we're able to see, you said we sent Chimbaka Mbwiri. He's the one, we are the ones who sent him to do whatever he said. The next thing says, no, I never meant that. No, we know. It's quite a lot of things that are going on that have just been lies and lies on end. So what are we going to get? Food security, we do not have it, all because maize was sold. This time around, we have less than 400,000 metric tons of maize sitting in this country. That is just about a month or two cover. I'm not a prophet, but I can tell you that end of the next month, we'll be buying minimum 450, between 450 and 550 kwacha. It is very apparent. And that is because the harvest that we had in 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 has been misused. Misused in that this government had no foresight. They were not paying attention to the forecast that we're constantly being told by the meteorological department to say we may not have good rains in this coming year. And the forecast, you can even have a forecast for up to 10 years. So if President Hakainde Hichilema thought that the issues that we're facing were because of poor leadership, but we managed to feed the country with the so-called poor leadership and not at climate change, then his must be poorer now and should not be blamed on climate change, but lack of planning. Because the evidence is very clear. For the PF, there's nothing to show that at that particular time they sowed the maize. But for us, we have everything to show that you sowed. You took it for granted that things would be okay, even with evidence that things may not be okay. They took it for granted and headed in that direction. Now, what are the banks saying? That the economic outlook is not going to look good for this country for at least in the short term because of lack of food. Those are going to drive the prices of commodities up.
Let me bring something that is close to your profession, and I would like your opinion on it. This is the issue where I think a directive or a statement was made that all trials, at least maximum, must be 6 months. They must be exhausted. And especially those on financial crimes, I know. So how did you receive that? I mean, is this practically possible?
Let's start from this point.
Right.
Who made that directive?
The head of state.
Okay. Now, therein lies the problem. Government is supposed to be tripartite, as it were. The executive, the legislature, as well as the judiciary.
Right.
If you see a president trying to intermingle in the business of other arms of government, you should smell a rat. There is a problem. Now, where did this matter start from?
Mm-hmm.
The first announcement that was made by the president after the appointment of the Chief Justice is that now we have a Chief Justice. You are going to see what is going to happen. That was a very unfortunate statement coming from the president, because he was suggesting that the Chief Justice was not independent and was not able to carry out the things or run the judiciary independently. That's what it suggested, because he was saying now we have our own Chief Justice. That's what he said. So having put him there, the next thing he comes, he holds a press briefing. What is it doing? He's castigating Bowman Lusambo. He's castigating Rafael Nakachenda. And what happens next? These people are arrested. And he says, no, when this matter go to court, now we need to be expediting this matter. We are creating the Economic Crimes Court. Now, the president makes that statement. After the president makes that statement, what does the Chief Justice do? He goes ahead and creates a division called the Financial and Economic Crimes Court, and administratively creates one in the subordinate court. Now, you are seeing that there is this thing that is happening. The president says one thing, the Chief Justice implements it. That is an unfortunate situation. Even when we took the matter to court and said, listen, this can't happen. The Chief Justice has no power to create this court, because it appears to us that this court is targeted at individuals. And the moment you create a court to target individuals, then it ceases to be a court that is perceived going to try people fairly. Because people must be subjected to the same courts. They must go to the same ordinary courts before the same ordinary people that are supposed to be there. That is what is supposed to happen. But if you're going to create what looks like a special purpose vehicle for purposes of trying a certain class of people, then you're creating a problem. We went to court, but obviously the court did not agree with our arguments. We were arguing to say he has no power to create this. We argued that it was the legislature, parliament, that was supposed to. So even when they disagreed with us, we are happy that they saw sense in it, and Parliament went ahead and created the Financial and Economic Crimes Court. Now, the issue is not that the Financial and Economic Crimes Court was created, but the genesis of it. That creates...
It was corrected along the way, no?
It was corrected without an admission that it was wrong. But the very fact that it is coming from the cradle, from a poisoned chalice, makes it wrong all the way. Of course, we're not saying that people will not be subjected to these courts. They will be subjected to these courts. They'll continue obeying what this court says. But it is a product of a poisoned chalice. The moment, like I agree with Father Lupupa when he says, when you're going to create a court that is going to deal with a certain class of people, it's no longer prosecution, but persecution. And to prove that it is actually persecution, the president himself admitted that we're going to persecute and prosecute you. And that is exactly what has been going on. Now, to try and limit the time to say we shall deal with this within 5 months, it is not persons that ought to decide how long a matter will take. Because sometimes rushing a matter may lead to an injustice, or indeed delaying it may lead to an injustice. Or there are all those possibilities. Matters should be allowed to take their normal course within the course, because you do not know what the amount of evidence that will be presented. You do not know how long a witness is going to take on the stand. You have no control over all those variables. So if you're going to say that we are going to do it in so short a time, it gives the impression as though there's a determined end that you actually want, and you want to achieve it within that particular time. Because there are cases that have been known to take years to conclude, not because there was no diligence on the part of the persons that were prosecuting, but because the nature of the case demanded that it should take that long. The evidence had to be interrogated. People had to be represented. And if I'm going to choose to be represented, you can't give me to say you're going to finish your defense in 5 months, or indeed in 3 days. How do you know I'm going to finish it in 3 days? Do you know how many witnesses I'm going to call? Do you know how long how many documents they are going to refer to. Are you going to rush me through because I've been given 3 days? This is a criminal matter and it borders on people's freedoms. So due diligence has to be taken. The people have to be diligent enough to understand the case because the consequences may be too ghastly to contemplate. It borders on people's freedoms, and that's why caution must not be thrown to the wind. Our system must be one that ensures that justice is done, not a system that ensures that a case is closed at 5 months. Now we have created a system that says close the case at 5 months. We are supposed to be concentrating on creating a system that ensures that justice is done, whether by way of a conviction or by way of an acquittal. Justice done. It must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. Seen to be done by the processes that we put in place for purposes of achieving the end that we intend to achieve, and that is to achieve justice. That's what we ought to do. Never mere talk.
Without spending much time on it, for obviously fear of being cited for contempt of court, I would like you to give a state of affairs now with regards to the case of Mao Sampa.
Okay, I know there's been this issue that if you talk about a matter that is in court, then you're in contempt of court. I think we need to demystify that. You can comment on matters that are in court, provided it's a fair comment that is that you are making.
Yeah,
because
ordinary people may not know when they are being fair and when they are not.
Yes, but people can analyze a matter to say, okay, if this matter goes this way, it's likely to end in this particular way. If this matter goes this way, it's likely to end in this particular way. People are able to talk about that, and people should be free to talk about that. I don't think the courts should be the ones that should be at the forefront on stifling the freedom of expression of people. The Constitution guarantees each and every person the right to hold an opinion and the right to express that opinion. So if you ask me over the Mao Sampa case,
yeah,
of course the matter is ongoing in court.
Right.
And so far, what has been presented before the court is that there was the ones that were before Judge Chocho. Those have been discontinued for purposes of concentrating on one matter, the one that is before Judge Siloka. And in this matter, what has been presented to the court is that the presidential candidates, those that intended to contest the presidency of PF
at the convention,
at the convention,
yeah,
have petitioned the court to say, listen, our freedom of association, our freedom to associate has been curtailed by this move by Mao Sampa to hold this meeting and then purport that it's a convention, and that we did not participate, and we did not we should have had the right to participate in that particular convention. They have argued that this particular convention did not have the blessing of the party, as it were. And of course, Mao Sampa has responded to that matter, purporting that indeed there was it was sanctioned by the party in those terms, and has also raised issues to say, okay, this there's a duplication of matters and all. So those are the matters that are before court, and I can only discuss to that extent to update.
Yeah.
It's a matter of public interest to update the public as to what exactly is before court and the arguments that have been presented before court so far. The determination of the court, should the court agree with us to say that the convention was not obviously to be done now with. If the court agrees with Mao Sampa, then Mao Sampa may be endorsed by the courts, as it were, as being the rightfully person that was elected by the party, as it were.
Of course, that is a different case from the one that we saw, leader of opposition in parliament being given to. I mean, update us on that part also, from the parliament point of view.
That has been as a consequence of what Mao Sampa did.
Yeah.
And obviously there is, we can say that the connivance between the executive and parliament is what has led to all these problems. Because at the time when Nelly Muti was purportedly appointing the other leaders of opposition and all, the names had not changed at registrar societies, and we have that evidence. Of course, they wrote to registrar societies who explained to them that to say that the Mausampa group has submitted, not that there was a change, they had submitted for a change, for a change, and it is that has been making the executive and the legislature uncomfortable to say if this continues. The idea is to try and preserve the integrity, which is gone already. Our national parliament, our national assembly, has gone rogue, like Sangwa had put it, because our people can't express themselves. Our representatives can't express themselves as they ought to. The procedures that are there, the suspensions that are there on a weekly basis, are unheard of, unprecedented. And you do not expect that a National Assembly would degenerate to such levels. At least I didn't expect that. But that has happened because of a misdeed that occurred at some point, which is being fueled and supported by the executive, as well as Madam Nelly Muti. It is very clear to see. And every Zambian knows that there is interference in the affairs of the Patriotic Front Party. Every Zambian knows that.
Now, all the opposition, maybe first of all, let me, for the sake of those who may just have tuned in, welcome to this particular Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. Our guest is Lusaka renowned lawyer in Makebi Zulu, and we're discussing many other issues. Let's go to what the opposition has termed as shrinking democratic space in this country. And the only reference to the shrinking democratic space is by the fact that you've not been given political areas.
No, that's
and
not
I feel that's petty, because you can't use just that to term the entire democratic space. And
that's why I'm saying
shrinking.
Your feeling is wrong.
It's the only thing you cite. I ask opposition leaders, why do you say the democratic space is shrinking?
Let me examples. Let me give you examples. Now, the most recent example, Jackson Chama, the young man who made a statement recently, was taken to Kalomo, has been convicted, sentenced to 12 months. What Chama said, what Jackson Chama said, he had to hate speech. Now, the shrinking democratic state issue that I would deduce from that fact is that the law, our criminal procedure code, is that you should be tried in a place where you are said to have committed the offense.
Right.
Jackson Chama stays in Lusaka. Wherever he uttered those statements from, he uttered that statement from Lusaka. A random person in Kalomo reports him to the police. The police have enough resources to pick up Chama from here, take him to Kalomo, and the magistrate sitting there sits and reads the offense to say, Jackson Chama, between this date and this date at Lusaka, said this, this, and that. Now, the moment the magistrate gets to a point where it says at Lusaka, it means that that magistrate does not have jurisdiction to deal with that matter. The jurisdiction to deal with that matter is the court that is in Lusaka district. What has happened? He was tried, he was convicted right there
in Kalomo
by a court which did not have jurisdiction to deal with his matter. And Ray Hamonga comes and says, we are celebrating this conviction on this other end. We have seen such cases. Raphael Nakachinda makes a statement in Lusaka. Someone in Solwezi decides to report there in Solwezi. The police come, pick up Nakachinda, take him to Solwezi. Because Raphael Nakachinda was represented, we raised an issue to say, this court has no jurisdiction to deal with this matter. The magistrate agreed with us. What did the magistrate do? Transfer the matter to Lusaka. Now, Having transferred the matter to Lusaka, the matter is now being tried in Lusaka, which is a proper thing. Tayali makes a statement in Lusaka. Where is he taken? The Western Province. He's driven through the night because the person who complains was that the law is not that you are tried at the location where the complainant is.
Does it matter maybe the gravity of the case?
Listen,
I would want to. I'm asking because I'm tempted to ask the question on the treason issue of HH.
Okay. Now I'm going to that is different.
Okay.
That is a matter that is triable by the High Court.
Okay.
You see that?
Right.
So it's a matter that is triable by the High Court, which has got unlimited jurisdiction. The subordinate court has limited jurisdiction, and that jurisdiction is unlimited to the geographical boundaries. If you are in Lusaka district, you can't deal with a matter that is in Chongwe district. It has to be a magistrate from Chongwe district to deal with that matter. But we've seen this lawless just like that. Examples abound of people that have been transported from place to place. Would you call that adhering to the rule of law? Certainly not. Now, even the statements that are made, the statements that are being calculated or being said to amount to hate speech. Look at Batuke Menda. Batuke Menda calls Bishop Alec Banda Lucifer. Sean Tembo takes out that matter and says, I'm going to privately prosecute this matter. Writes to the DPP to say, give me consent to prosecute this matter. The DPP says, well, show us the evidence that he actually said this. Sean Tembo gives a recording to say, this is Batuke Menda and this is what he said. The evidence has been presented. What does the DPP do? He refuses to grant consent, even having been given that. Now, what Jackson said is something that is arguable. Jackson accuses this government of being tribal. And examples abound as to the tribal tendencies of this government. Just yesterday, you saw that 27 ZESCO workers have sued the government for being tribal. Being tribal in that those from Luapula, Eastern and Northern Province are being dismissed or indeed segregated against. There's a matter that has taken place. We have had establishments been said to contain only people from certain regions of this country. Now, it has been made criminal to bring out these particular issues for purposes of stifling opposing views. All you have to do is say, no. What you have said is not correct. And because the representation is like this, you're supposed to show, because the Constitution itself demands that there must be a balance. There must be tribal balance. In the event that there's no tribal balance, what we expected was for the government to say, no, we have appointed these people because we couldn't find any other qualified person to take up this position. And as such, necessity took over and we appointed this person. Now, they're not able to do that. All they want to do right now is to stop any person from talking about issues of tribe, issues of regionalism, even when those things are a fact. You can't doubt that in certain sectors, certain areas, there's been a dominance of certain people that are from certain regions. The promotions in the police have been dominated by people coming from certain regions, and those coming from the other regions have not been considered. So to talk about that has been criminalized. It shouldn't be like that.
I'll bring you back to the issue of why Bando, a suspect to somewhere else where they've been reported when an incident happened. Exactly. I think this one is not strange. We saw a lot of them in the PF regime.
Give me one example.
I think let me bring out. I stand to be corrected. Dem Tembonchito.
You are corrected,
Dem Tembonchito case. I think Dem Tembonchito was transferred to Chongwe instead of Lusaka. I remember Anthony Bwadia and Mubita Nawa.
Okay, now let's do this.
Who were taken to Northern Province as well.
Listen to this. The Mtembonchito case may not be a proper example, because even after Mtembonchito was taken to Chongwe, the matter was transferred to Lusaka, and he appeared in the Lusaka magistrate's court. So the question as to where a person commits that offense is what should determine the court that they should appear before. Remember, I don't want to really digress from this, because you were asking me to show that the democratic space is shrinking.
Right.
Exactly, and I was giving those particular examples.
Right.
Now you have this Bumba Malambo from Kafue, who made tribal statements. She's not been tried at all. There was this girl recently who was referring to Bembas and saying Bembas Mwanya, and making disparaging remarks against the Bembas. What has happened? Nothing has happened to that girl. If that person has spoken against the Tongas, believe me, the whole system would have descended on her. Because now this person, Jackson, said something against the Tongas, and the system descended on him, taken to a place where the court has no jurisdiction, and is convicted in that place. That should not be the case. Of course, the issue of rallies is something that that every person knows. It has gone beyond rallies, by the way. Even press briefings. On several occasions that Mr. Mwenda, president of the, is it EFF?
Yes.
Yes, president of the EFF, twice he's been bundled and taken to the police for holding a press briefing. Once in Chipata, the other time in on the Copper Belt. All these issues, at the instigation of cadres, you have seen that happening. This person now, Biflo, the one who really supported the UPND, was walking right here next door at Levimont. What happened? The cadres went for him. He was assaulted. He was victimized together with his friend. What have the police done about that? Nothing. Have they even talked about it? Not at all. They have not talked about it. Now, and we have been told, no, cadreism is all out. Now, the reason they go for a person like Biflo is because his opinion as regards this government has changed. His views, or he's spoken against some of the ills of this government. And to speak against the ills of this government is being seen to be hate speech, is being construed to be wanting to overthrow the government, is being construed to be anything else but the right to express oneself. So all that is simply bordering on them being intolerant to divergent views. Now, listen to the latest thing. They come and say, no, this time around we are changing the law. In order for you to broadcast anything on Facebook, you need a license. So you are telling us that for Mary Beauty to talk about whatever she wants to talk about on Facebook, she needs to go to IBA and get a license. You are telling us that Mama Chika Monica, for her to say anything, she needs to go and get a license from IBA to say, I want to broadcast. Because they define broadcast to say putting up anything that is of interest to the public. Then, or saying anything to the public, that's broadcasting. By the way, that will also mean that even putting up a status, because if you're going to write something on your Facebook page and the public has access to it, you are broadcasting, and as such, you should get a license from IBA.
This is a law that came about under your regime.
No. That is
this is a law that came about under your regime.
No, not at all.
Why am I saying so? Because this was after you and party enacted a cybercrime act, right? This is when this came, and so when that was formulated by your party, Patriotic Front, and we've seen sentenced under this law.
Zach, what I expected really is that if you're going to ask me such a question, you will have read through and understood what you were asking me about. Because when it comes to cyber crimes, that was targeted at offenses that are committed on the internet that are offensive to a person. Take, for example, cyberbullying. If I'm going to take to my Facebook page and talk about you in a manner that is not true, that is not anything, then I will have committed an offense. See, there's someone's right that is being infringed by my conduct on Facebook or online on any media.
Hence, we should regulate. Hence, we should regulate.
What we should regulate.
Because when you come up with a law like cybercrime,
exactly,
you need to also ensure how you will regulate.
Exactly. So cyber crimes are intended to regulate cyber crimes, crimes that are committed online. They are not intended to stop you from expressing your view or getting you licensed to express a view. Why do I need a license to express?
But regulation is also just to give guidelines. Like if you go beyond this, you may be found liable. So regulating is not really to punish, but to just give the guide.
Let's first agree that you were wrong when you said that the issue of licensing of persons who want to express their opinions started with the PF. Let's agree that you were wrong.
It came about because of cybercrime.
No, it didn't come about because of cybercrime, because even as relates to cybercrime, we were on this platform. What the UPND said, even before coming into government, they said the first thing that we're going to do when we come into government, we're going to repeal the Cybercrimes Act. Have they repealed it? No, because what the Cybercrimes Act intended to achieve is to achieve a situation where you must be sober in your approach to what you post. You must not infringe on other people's rights. You must not use the internet to clone people's cards and use them and commit an offense online. All those issues are taken care of by the Cybercrimes Act. Now, these acts that the UPND has come up with are saying that for you to transmit anything, for example, you as a radio station here, you pay your usual fees for broadcasting. And what you are paying to broadcast is to broadcast on 89.5. Now, with this law coming, 89.9. Yes, now with this law coming in, it means that as you are simulcasting on Facebook, you need to get another license for Facebook. That's what it means. It means you need to get another license to be able to broadcast on Facebook. It means Millie Beauty has to get a license. It means Why Me has to get a license for his TikToks. It means each and every one of us in this country can't go live anymore. You are in church, you are enjoying your service, that church service that you sign, whether on YouTube, you need a license to get that. That's what this government is saying. And we're saying that having stopped rallies, the opposition has resorted to addressing people online, to use the online platforms to address people. And now that is getting to this government. And for purposes of shutting them down, up, they want to decide who gets a license and who doesn't, to be able to talk to people out there. You can't even advertise your business without a license if this law takes effect. That's why Zambians should be awake as to what is it that these people want to talk about. What is it that they want? The next thing, the courts will be full of people that are appearing before a magistrate, spending lots of money to try a person who decided to go live to show how they are cooking, how to prepare beans. Or if you are from my village, how we prepare mbea or machesi. You see, I would be prosecuted because I don't have a license for having gone live, because that was not intended for me, it is intended for the public. So we have all those issues that we need to deal with. And that insecurity by this government is what is causing the democratic space to shrink. And if people do not have a proper check on this government, they will run over everyone. No one will be able to say anything anymore. We just have to keep quiet and suffer in silence, because the law, the constitution of the land, protects us from such schemes of the government that want to license our freedom of expression, that want to license our ability to tell people what they ought to hear, or indeed to talk about anything else. It shouldn't be like that.
At this point, let me invite our listeners. You are listening to the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. We are live on our partner radio stations as well. That is Tuta FM in Mansa. We are live on iWave in Chingola, covering Copperbelt. Live in Muchinga, in Chinsali to be precise, covering Muchinga province on Muchinga Radio. And we are live on Spice FM in Kabwe, and live on 5FM here in Lusaka and the surrounding areas, and also live on Wave FM Radio. in Mazabuka, covering the rest of Southern Province. Live on Facebook page. We are on our 5FM Radio Zambia Facebook page, and also live on other platforms such as Smart Egos, Patriotic Front PF page, Grindstone TV, the Fox newspaper as well. All right, so those are platforms where we are broadcasting from. Let me start with a question from our partner radio station in Mansa, Tuta FM. Says, good morning. I think partly you've answered part of this question. It's in twofold, but let's read it. Good morning. If the UPND alliance, which is an equivalent to UCA, achieved its objective without registration, the registrar of societies, why is there a need for UCA to be registered? Also, what is your comment on the Cyber Crimes Act, which was formulated by your party, Patriotic Front, and has seen many people being arrested, detained, and some sentenced under this particular law? What did PF have in mind when you formulated this law?
Perhaps the first limb has been dealt with.
Yeah.
Then what law exactly is being referred to?
The cybercrime.
I think cyber crimes. Yeah. I think I've also
you have,
yes,
but maybe on the UCA registration, yes, you seem to be pushing the registration much. But he's saying the UPND Alliance didn't even register and they achieved their objectives. Can't you go in that route?
Yes, it's for that reason that I gave my view.
Yeah, to say you have options.
Whereas it may be expedient to register,
right,
it may not be necessary to register it. It can proceed in the manner in which
the UPND Alliance
is proceeding, in the manner that the UPND Alliance it appears as though the target for UPND was PF. And with the advent of UCA, they do not know what exactly to target, because now they have to refocus. They need to recalibrate, because all their arsenals were calibrated for the Patriotic Front party. Now that there's this force that's coming, UCA, they don't know what to say about UCA. They don't know. They don't have anything against UCA. So they're in total disarray. And the reason they would want to think and insist to say, no, you are operating because out of our own kindness. I saw some ridiculous comment by Matembo, the PS for Home Affairs, saying that no, we have allowed them to even hold press briefings even when they are not registered. It is not because you are kind, sir, that the UCA has been able to have this, because they have every right to disseminate their views and opinions as persons from different groupings coming together for a common purpose. And that purpose is to correct the mess that we're being subjected to as a country. Yeah.
Let's also quickly, as we take phone calls, there's one issue that has been in public domain, and it's been debated around the immunity of the former head of state, saying that there are others who are saying that he is prosecutable on crimes that he may commit now. For example, if he is checked on the statement of inciting the public to rise against this government, for example, there's debate that they can't touch him because he has immunity. But there are others who are also debating that he can be prosecuted on crimes that he may commit now.
Okay, that's to address it.
Yeah.
But as you may be aware, he's my client, and there's something that we're working on as regards the same.
Okay.
So I may not be free to indeed discuss that matter. So that one, I would leave. I would leave that alone.
Right.
Yes.
Let's then take phone calls. We have this one here. Good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, Mr. Zaki, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Mr. Makebi Zulu, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Simple Kanyo calling you in Lusaka.
Yes, please.
I think tribalists like Mr. Makebi Zulu must not be allowed in our country. And that's the more reason, Mr. Zach, we, the young people of this country, has to raise to the occasion and see to it that people who talk about tribalism must be removed and bring in people who will discuss development in our country. Look, today he's talking about that UPND is doing a tribal cleansing. when we, the young people or the people of this republic, we have witnessed where employment is scattered across this country in all the 10 provinces. People are being employed. God, Daily Mail now. People from other religions are being employed. But today, saying about the issues of tribal cleansing, I think that's not type of politics which we want. What we are looking for as young people of this country, it is Mr. Makebi Zulu and his so-called UFA, so the Zambian people, the agenda which they have, which they want to do, how they want to develop this country. Let them give us the manifesto. And like them saying that the European, they have told, they don't have an agenda of this country, want to clean up the mess. Yes, we want to clean up the mess. Now, Zambian people, the agenda have, tell the Zambian people the manifesto to have, and that's how people they will vote for you. Not this the politicians are talking about the issues of tribals. For the Zambian people, we are not going to buy into. Look now, the man is trying by all means to collect the mess which was created by the very Mr. Makebi Zulu, like the issues of the money on the copper bill. You people completely destroyed it. How did you destroy it? Instead of negotiating well with the investors, but we ended up taking issues into court. And because of the court that delayed and our economy is in the shambles, because we are not producing. But the man is trying now to bring investors so that the mining sector is opened and employment will be created on the copper belt. And you people cannot appreciate all that which is being done by the person who is in state house. So what I'm saying, Mr. Zach, there's no one who will come and cheat with the young people to say that these people have failed. We are able to see employment is being created. CTF, a lot of people that are getting grants, they're getting loans so that they can get the poverty which was created by the patriotic front. The very people are hiding the name of UKA, and the UKA, they are not even saying the manifesto. The only thing they know is that these people have failed, and we are not going to bite that because we are the young people and we know what we need for our country. Thank you very much.
Your name again, sir?
Simple Kanya.
Simple
Thank
Kanya.
you. Thank you. Thank you for calling. 0955-221515 is the number that you are calling us on. And let's pick this one. Good morning.
Good morning, Zach. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, this is Lawrence calling from Kafue.
Lawrence, please go ahead and be brief, sir.
Honorable State Council Makebi Zulu. Mdala, mumakamba vanzeru pa radio mdala. Simanzela mdala vani mukamba. Just a che, in country, I don't know UPND. Okay? In country, like a UPND, country, you make a chape. Kada UPND at a community crime, umarambo, ume au kafio. She should a child settlement. Was she arrested? The answer is no. But if she can be being prosecuted and convicted of who? Tribalism. So what's the rule of law here? Okay? So the SG issued the hate speech against the priest, the Catholic bishops, was arrested, but you can't arrest a young man who was expressing himself about the kind cost of living. A caller in Kawe, that's in the PS. Where is Ungao cheaper? Where is 50 quarter millimeter? The caller was arrested by the police until the British ambassador commented. That's when that caller was released. So this country in Ghana is a reign of terror. People are living in terror. Look at how the church was free under PF. Look how these are talking under PF. Today, even pointing at tribalism or regionalism, this government, they will undo. But you are seeing people who have had their balance in the civil service. Imagine got a balance in civil service. Akamba nayo kwa WhatsApp. Otakamba zina. Hiyo wapatani we. Hiyo zapisha nchito. The civil servants are living in fear. You can't support the Tikalamo Wamdala. You can't pretend that Kutizaki. Honorable Makebi. Where are we going in this country? This country is heavily divided. And our leaders don't see it. Okay? So what you are saying is that UKA, all the opposition, can you rise up and save this country from dictatorship? Save this country from tyrants. Because now Zambians, they're living here in their own country. Today, you ask me that how many start come there and condemn the UPND? Everyone is standing to a place singer, not because they want to. What to put you now, put you at government. Leso twakamba lero bano. Tukuti twafuna iyayi.
Thank you, Lawrence.
No.
Thank you,
Yes,
Lawrence. Your time is up. Thank you so much for coming. Let's take another one on 0955-221515. Good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from. Hello, good morning. Well, we lost that one, but we'll take another one. Good morning. Hello.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Zach.
Good morning. How are you?
No, me, I'm fine. This is Musa, better known as Musa Lirwa.
Musa.
Calling in from Lusaka.
From Lusaka. Please go ahead, Musa.
Yes, I just wanted to contribute on the topic at hand.
Sure.
Yes, what the Land Council is talking about is about sectorial tendencies. I mean, the youth are the ones who voted for these guys in mass using social media. And that is the one they want to shut down. From the inception, even the way they were running the party, it was held together because of dictatorial tendencies of Mr. HH. Now, that is what he wants to put now in the country. It won't work, I can assure you. You will be embarrassed to be for dictators. We've had people like that. Not to this extent and the level of failure. Not to this extent. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you done? Is that all? Thank you very much for coming through. Let me see if I can pick another one. Good morning.
Good morning, Zach. Mwashubuka shani mkwai.
Twashubuka fe bwino katshibena mkwai.
Twashubuka fe bwino. Honorable Makebi Zulu, my counsel.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. This is Makebi calling from Chongwe. Although I haven't listened to the whole program, but from what I've listened to, you are spot on. And my question to you is, I don't know if you had an opportunity to listen to Mayowa Narumango, the Vice President, the response he gave Munia Zulu yesterday,
Yes,
when he asked in the House on a point of order from what is happening in Western Province over that man who was shot by the carabiners. As a clergy, because they are also a clergy, do you think that Mayo was fair the way he answered that young man? Even putting words in his mouth, the words he never spoke. Because to me as a mother, I thought that was too much and it was out of hand to see, the response she gave. And isn't it worrying you? I'm not asking you as a lawyer. I'm asking you as a clergy. Isn't it worrying you that we have now developed a culture of lying? Because lying in Zambia number, chiri normal. That's why we had that young parliamentarian, whom I'm very proud of, because I also went to parliament as a youth. And the bravery she showed to tell the president about his life. But my concern is about you as the clergy. Look at the way, because biblically, I'm not supposed to criticize any anointed person. But look at the way Barnabas Mumba has been coming out. And you, because you are also an anointed person, you are a clergy, you are the one who can talk to them. Are you finding time as clergy to put these clergy people in order when we see the same clergy like the Bishop John Mambo criticizing his fellow clergy, the Bishop Tresfom Pondo, for speaking the truth about what is going on in Zambia? I'm waiting for your comment. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
I actually forgot that you're a clergy.
I'm not. And it's quite interesting. See,
no, but we saw you graduate as as what?
No. I just graduated from Bible school.
Okay.
And the reason I went to Bible school, of course, I went to Bible school together with my wife, just for our own enrichment.
Right.
Yes, that not that
not that you take the pulpit.
No, not that I take the
Okay.
pulpit. No,
Right.
It was just for purposes of learning, and I enjoy learning different aspects of.
Can I take some more calls
of life? Perhaps I could do with these
sure.
3 that, in fact, 4 that
have come through.
So,
please.
let me start with what Mama Mumbepiri has said. Of course, the response by the vice president yesterday was quite disappointing. If at that particular time she did not have a right response, it would have been magnanimous enough for her to say, okay, listen, that matter indeed did happen, but we can't speculate at this particular moment as to what exactly happened. Investigations are underway, and at an appropriate time, I will come and address the House and give them that position. To be seen to be having an altercation, or indeed to be using words that are seemingly demeaning the other person for purposes of asking a question that is legitimately in public interest, it was in self-offside. I also saw that Gary Nkombo, for Jinch Senga to say what she said of HH will not go unpunished. That when Jinch Senga told President she can't be punished for telling the truth as it is. Who in Zambia does not know that the UPND government, particularly President Hakainde Hichilema, has told several lies? Look at the issue of KCM. What did President Hakainde Hichilema say? He came on the floor and said, no, people are saying that we're going to sell KCM. Those are lies. Ubufi. He interpreted Ubufi in almost all the languages to mean that was not, that KCM was not going to be given back to Vedanta. He said that on more than 2 occasions. Firstly, before he was president, he said it, and commended PF for having gotten rid of Vedanta. Then when he was president, during the press briefing, he says it was a lie. There were no such intentions. Then, with a straight face in the National Assembly, he comes and says, we are glad to inform the nation that Vedanta is back at KCM. Now, you'd wonder, is this a different person? And I think that's a wonder of so many people. Is this the same HH that we knew before he formed government? Even within government, what is with the inconsistency? So this inconsistency of information that contradicts each other is what is called lies. So even when Honorable Jean referred to the statements or said of the president that he was lying, that or indeed is a liar, she's not far from the truth. How many times in a day do we see statements that were made by HH which have proven not to be true? There are plenty, and they're resurfacing on a daily basis. Perhaps that's another reason they may want to stop you or any Zambian from posting on social media, from going online, is because you are bringing out things that he used to say using the very platform that made him popular. And Mr. Msalilwa makes a very valid point when he said the majority of the people that voted for President Hakainde Hichilema are the youths. And these youths got to know of him or got his message through social media. He would broadcast himself without a license. He was free to express himself without a license. Why does he want them to have a license to speak that back to him? It means that those that go to online to address the government, they need to go and get permission from the government to say, give me permission to be able to speak to you on social media. That should not be the case. And Lawrence from Kafiwe makes a very valid point when he says there's been selective prosecution. And that is what I thought Simple Colonel was going to talk about, because I have given instances of where there's selective prosecution. And there's a difference between talking about tribalism and being tribal. The government has been consistent prosecuting people who talk about tribalism and not people who are being tribal. Jackson was talking about tribalism. He was not being tribal. And you can't prosecute a person for talking about tribalism. Here I am, I'm saying, let's not be tribal. Let's not be tribalistic in our in our approach to things. That's what I've been talking about. I have not been tribal in any way. So Simple Colonel seems to talking about tribalism is an offense. It is being tribal that is an offense. And this tribalism is being perpetuated. If you see someone perpetuating tribalism and you speak of it, you should not be the person to account. It should be the person who's being tribal to account and justify, if at all they are being tribal, why they are being tribal. And if they are being tribal, to change and be able to look at in a very realistic manner. Examples abound as to the tribal tendencies of this government. They are bound. They are bound. And people have given those particular examples. Those that have been prosecuted. I hope I won't be. But even if I am, I don't care, because I am not being tribal. I am talking about tribalism, and I'm saying let's unite as a nation. Let's not be tribal. Anything that's tribalism should be frowned upon, whether by the opposition or indeed by the government. Yes, I think.
Yeah, I think we can take some more.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's take another set, of course. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Elvis, welcome.
Yes. Council, how are you?
How are you?
Very fine, but we are not fine because of the hunger which has been brought by this cruel government. This government has been cruel to the people of Zambia. And to tell you the truth, we are suffering more than they are saying that we are suffering in the PF. These people have inflicted more pain on the people of Zambia. Talking about the tribal talk, we sponsored the Tishimba Kambwiri to go and talk about the tribalism. We planted him in the PF. Who said that? Is it you, Mr. Makebi Zulu? Or is it a certain minister in a ministry? So we want to know. These people have been saying they are democratic, but to me they are too autocratic. Zach, you have been talking about the social media. Which platform made the President Hakainde Hichilema popular? Is it not the same media they want to see for today? Which platform did Mr. HH use to propel himself to State House? Zach? Is it not the youth who were saying bad on the social media? Today the youth have been neglected. Today the CDF they are talking about. Ask a lot of people that come into the compound that and see if this CDF has changed the poverty levels of the people. The people are still wallowing in poverty. The people who are receiving this CDF that are not known. Me, you know me, that I'm a community worker. I talk about the community. I go around the communities that I haven't seen any youth having a project from CDF in my constituency, especially in my ward. Come and ask that if there is anyone who has been a thorn in the flesh of the UPND. Because of their failures, now they want to distil anyone who talks about the failures of the UPND. These were the people who were telling us that when they come, it will be heaven on earth. Today it is hell on earth. That can you afford to buy a bag of milk at 350 that? Can you afford to buy a bag of fertilizer at that exorbitant price? Look at the drought today. These are the people who said there will be no load shedding. The president stood on the platform in Kafue God there telling the people that we have ended the load shedding. It was echoed by the minister in the parliament saying we have ended the load shedding. But today, these are the people who are defending the load shedding. I'm concluding that. So what we are telling you, Mr. Makebi Zulu, continue speaking. These people are here to kill us. They are not here to help us. We are in trouble. We are in managing trouble. And the youth, you should know that voting has brought you problems. Today they are talking about employment. Yes, they are employing in the formal sector. What of those in the informal sector?
Thank you, Elvis. Thank you, Elvis. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for coming, Elvis. Great. I have a message here.
Yes.
Having PF members attend UKA meetings, don't you think that they can be cited for crossing the floor by the speaker? 5FM, keep it up. You are always trendsetters on this program. Happy 20th anniversary. This is Perry Msonda watching you from Chicago, USA. Thank you very much, Perry. I think that's an important question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So attending a meeting as well as being a member
of parliament.
Of parliament. Attending a meeting does not mean that you cease to be a member. UKA, as it is coming together of different political parties.
Right.
So if the different political parties, they do not cease to have the individuality as political parties. They continue existing as political parties. But for purposes of this agenda, there's this special purpose vehicle called UKA.
Yeah.
And this special purpose vehicle called UKA, so as things are right now, is not registered, as it were.
Right.
So the membership of UKA is membership of the political parties, not necessarily individual members of the political parties.
Yeah.
It is the PF, which is a member of UKA. It is the Golden Party, which is a member of UKA. It is the different NDC, which is a member of UKA. So UKA is a consolidation or a conference
of individual political parties.
Individual political parties. So there's nothing like crossing the floor.
Okay.
No one is crossing the floor as things stand. They maintain the membership of PF, and PF is a member of UKA.
Great.
That's the status.
Let me take another one. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. How are you? Your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Seth. I'm calling you from within Lusaka.
Seth, you said?
From within Lusaka, yes. My name is Seth. Honorable Makebi Zulu Council, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thanks.
There's something I want to, I have two questions for you. So, you see, the way our country is, we have the three arms of government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. And these are supposed to be independent. Now, my question and my concern, obviously, because I'm a youth, the young man who's interested in the affairs of this country, is that you as a lawyer, I'm sure you've seen what you have seen. You are also very surprised, I'm sure. And you as lawyers, are you doing something? Are you meeting to try and, bring some level of integrity on the judiciary, for example? And if so, what are the steps that you have taken if you are doing that? Coming to the parliament, the legislature, is there a way, Honorable Makebi Zulu, that our members of parliament can start coming together to defend that which has been, or the constitution, what is enshrined in our constitution to protect, the integrity of parliament, because this is just too much. We've never seen where debates are being curtailed. We've never seen a parliament where debates are always curtailed. Dino can speak, Munya Zulu can speak. When they are speaking, they have to be curtailed. And, it's really, especially for a young person like me, it's really discouraging to live in a country like this. But are we doing something? Are we meeting? Do we have a plan? This is not for PA, for any other. This is for the future of this country. So are we doing something, Honorable Makebi Zulu? You as a lawyer, are we doing something to make sure that the executive remains alone, the judiciary remains independent, and also parliament remains independent? Thank you.
Thank you, Seth, for that.
Yeah, Seth asks very important questions relating to the unholy matrimony between the arms of, or amongst the arms of government.
Yeah.
That in more times than many has seen or has given a perception of interference that makes the arms of government, the judiciary, the legislature, cease to be as independent as they ought to be. And he asks what steps are taken. Well, on our part, we have been very proactive in making sure that anything that supposedly borders on what we focus or we see as an interference, we challenge that in court. Now, the issue is whether or not the court is going to agree with us, rightly or wrongly so. We do not have control over that, but ours is to challenge. I can give you a very good example. In the last appointment of judges, Of course, we had a client come to us and say, listen, for someone to be a high court judge, I'll just pick this particular one. For someone to be a high court judge, they have to be at least 10 years at the bar. They need to have practiced for at least 10 years.
Okay.
Now, there's one person who was appointed as judge who was less than 10 years, about 9 years something at the bar. So we challenged that. We said, this can't be the case because this person does not qualify. And we argued that at the time of the appointment, even before ratification, when the Judicial Service Commission is presenting names to the president, they'll present those names and say, these people qualify to hold the office of judge. So when they present those, the president, in presenting those names to Parliament, he's telling Parliament to say these people qualify to hold the office as judge. Not that these people will qualify in the next few months or so. So we presented that case before court. Then,
so this particular judge had only few months to clock 10.
Yes, to clock 10, hadn't clocked 10 yet. So we challenged that. We
said the appointment was after this judge turned 10.
No. The appointment was before he turned 10. The ratification, at the time of the ratification, he was 10. But what we argued was that the Judicial Service Commission, at the time it is giving the name to the president, what they are saying to the president is that this person has qualified, not that will qualify.
Right.
When the president is presenting those names to Parliament, he is saying to Parliament, these people qualify, not that this person will qualify. Parliament went ahead, sat, but at the time of the ratification, on the day when they're ratifying, the person at that time had clocked 10. So our argument was that no, it should not be like that. At the time of the appointment, not at the time of the ratification, because the constitution.
But the appointment does not stand until ratification, no?
The appointment, ratification means approval of the appointment. That's what ratification is.
Yeah.
Approval of the appointment. So the appointment is done. Ratification approves the appointment. So we argued to say this is not the case, but the court disagreed with us and says no. At the time of the ratification, this person qualified. Of course, to this day, I still disagree. I respect the judgment of the court, but I disagree with the reasoning of the court.
I kind of agree with
the reasoning of the court.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would agree
because at the time I'll be in office, I will qualify. I'll be a qualified one at that point.
You can agree only to the extent that you have not read the Constitution.
Okay.
Because the Constitution restricts the issue of appointment and ratification as two different issues.
Okay.
You see that? Huh?
Yeah.
So at the time of the appointment, at the time of the recommendation by the Judicial Service Commission, the Judicial Service Commission does not say this person will qualify. It says this person has qualified. And for you to be a judge, you need to be at least 10 years at the bar. We argued that, but the court held your view.
Yeah.
So to that extent, you may be right. But my view, though they held that position, is that that was a wrong position altogether. And someday we'll need to rectify that.
Happy that your fellow lawyers were given the state council status?
Oh yes, I'm always happy when people are given that position, provided they meet the qualifications.
You think they did?
Well, I'm not part of the group that tends to vet them.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's a council of state council.
Yeah.
That sits to look at the names that were suggested. I don't know whether those names were submitted to that council.
Right.
Yes, whether they approved. Last I heard is that they had only approved 2 of all of them. I don't know whether there were other processes to approve the rest. I'm not sure. If there were other processes to approve the others, then I should be happy. If not, then there must be a problem with our system. But I should be happy for them that they were given that honor. Though my view is that for a person to be state counsel, it should not be by way of applying. Because the system right now is that if I want to be state counsel, I apply. It's two ways. Either by appointment, if you are appointed to the office of Attorney General, it's automatic you'll be state counsel. But if you're in private practice, or indeed you are in practice and you're going to be state counsel, you have to apply to be state counsel. You write to the president that you want to be state counsel. Then all laws will recommend, because they have to say, okay, this person, the way they conduct themselves in court and all, they possibly deserve to be. And the Law Association of Zambia had tried to put up a criteria to say there must be at least 5 that you have argued successfully to be able to be given that honor. I'm not sure whether that criteria was applied or indeed part of this process.
Yeah.
But I'm of the view that if someone is going to hold the dignity and honor of state counsel, the peers must be able to, or indeed the judges. It should not come from me to say, I think I should be state counsel. That's the view I hold, independent of what the situation is.
In my preamble, counsel, I did bring out the issue of the democratic report that was given by Viden Institute, a leading authority on the study of democracy worldwide. That's what it's called.
Who gave that description? They give themselves that description.
Well, even the Minister of Justice calls them that. But the point here is that the report states that Zambia has actually improved in as far as democracy is concerned. We are ranked number 3.
Number 3 where? Number 3 where?
What do you mean number 3 where? You know, we are.
Is it number 3 in SADC,
in terms of
number 3 in COMESA region, number 3 in Africa, number 3 in the world?
In the world.
Number 3 in the world. We are third to which 2 countries?
Just know that there's an improvement from your regime. I can't even remember at what number we were.
Okay,
but I know this regime we are at number 3.
To start with.
Meaning that this regime has actually made democracy improve to an extent that we have to be at number 3.
To start with, even as you are talking, I'm sure people out there are receiving that with a sense of shock. Because to start with, you didn't know VDEM until there was this supposed report, which was made popular by the government. And the moment it is coming from the government is popularizing a position, then you must know there is a problem. Because of the many things, I can give you a challenge. Let 10 callers call to say if they can agree with the position that we, in terms of democracy, we are better under the UPND. I can guarantee you that more than half would disagree.
In comparison to PF?
Even in comparison to PF.
I think they would agree that UPND is better.
No. They certainly wouldn't agree. The way things are right now, I can guarantee you that if right now, today, you called an election in Zambia and put President Hakainde Hichilema here and any other person, people would vote against President Hakainde Hichilema. I'm not saying they would vote for the other person, they would vote against President Hakainde Hichilema. And the reason they would vote for against President Hakainde Hichilema is because of the many callers. Look at the callers that I've called. The only person who seems to be sympathetic to UPND is Simple Kernel. The rest are saying, listen, things are bad. Every person, every Zambian is feeling it right now. And they're feeling it because the expectations of the Zambians were raised so high above what the Patriotic Front was offering. And because now the standards are much lower than what the Patriotic Front was giving, people are saying, we can't have this anymore. It's like the children of Israel, when they left Egypt, they said, let's go back to Egypt, where we had garlic and onion. Now, the compromise of saying, listen, in terms of the ability to afford the commodities then, which Mr. President Hakainde Hichilema said was too high, it's even higher now. Look at the example that was given by this person in Kabwe who called a PS and says, PS, things are expensive. Minimum is no longer, is not as cheap as you said it would be. That person was arrested. Are they doing better? President Hakainde Hichilema was on radio saying that no, not chula ubunga na budula, Vashimusonda. A prophet that he was, says, even I think under you, things will even be worse. Are things better? Things are worse. In more ways than many, the Patriotic Front Party did better. in more ways than many. And like President Edgar Chagwalungu said, that his worst in terms of performance as president is actually best when you compare it to what UPND
very
is
unfair
calling
comparison based on the duration that the two have been in office.
It is not
7 years against 2.5.
It is not.
It would be unfair comparison.
As a matter
really.
of fact, it's a fair comparison, because in so short a time, you can't lose popularity in a period of 2 years. You can't lose popularity. It means there are fundamental things that you are doing wrong. Take, for example, the most recent example, Mopani Copper Mine. Mopani Copper Mine, President Hakainde Hichilema and his government announced that, well, now we have found a buyer for Mopani, we have sold Mopani. That's unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional because the law provides a procedure when you're going to deal with an asset. The Constitution of Zambia, if you look at Article 210(2), it says a major asset shall be sold, transferred, or otherwise disposed of as prescribed, subject to the approval of the National Assembly, signified by a vote of at least 2/3 of the members of Parliament. And by asset is meant in sub-article 3 of 210, for the purpose of this article, major asset, state asset includes a parastatal and equity held by the government as prescribed. So you have that. Tell me, have you ever seen in Parliament a motion tabled for the sale of Mopani? You haven't. Why has there been a transfer of equity for Mopani? How was it done? Isn't that in itself a breach of the Constitution? A colleague of mine, Celeste Mukandila, made a statement to the effect that President Hakainde Hichilema should not be comfortable, because the moment he leaves office, his property, community house, will be forfeited to the state. What happened? Celestine was summoned by the police, interviewed by 12 police officers to say, what did you mean? What did you mean when you said whatever you said? And listen, it's very clear. If you're going to turn a private property into a place of abode of the head of state, and you bring things that belong to the state, affix them to that property, without due process, by the way, okay? Without due process.
What should have been the due process?
Of course, what we expect is that the president is going to live in State House. That's where we provide all the security measures that we're going to put. Now, the issue is, can the government put security installations on a private institution or on a private property? Have the Zambians ascribed to the fact that we are going to improve private properties of persons who are holding state positions? There is no law that provides that we should be able to do that. As a matter of fact, when you are a minister, government should provide accommodation for you. If they don't provide accommodation for you, they should pay you to be able to afford accommodation, to rent accommodation. So what we expect is that we should put aside a housing allowance for the president, to say, okay, because you are living in your own house, we'll give you this housing allowance. You are not living in this particular state property. But to go and put a helipad there, you put all those, how are you going to account for those when you leave? Are they going to remain state property when he's no longer in office? Because as far as we're concerned, that helipad that has been put there is state property. It has been put there because we are serving the president of the Republic of Zambia. And if we are going to remove that particular helipad where he lands with his choppers, of course we'll have wasted money. We will have wasted money. I didn't see anything that says, okay, here there's a tender for this to be conducted or to be put at this private property. No one saw that. So all those things are showing that there's a tendency to abrogate forget the standards and procedures that we have set for ourselves as a people. The things that we have said we are going to do, how we are going to nationalize, or indeed how we are going to sell assets of the state procedure for ourselves. And if we do not follow, any person who does not follow those procedures does so at their own peril. See, we are setting very bad precedents as a country, even in this purported fight against corruption, in the fact that we are selective as to what should be done and what should not be done, who should be prosecuted and who should not be prosecuted. All those go to the root of who is governing and what policy directions are they giving. And so far, from this Mopani issue, from this issues of upgrading of community house, issues of procurement of...
And you haven't spoken out these things, like the sale of Mopani. I mean, perhaps, you are not being patriotic.
Perhaps
because this thing is being handed over today.
Perhaps
and Zambians expect people with legal minds like yourselves to have probably reminded government that this route that you're taking is unconstitutional.
You know, there's a difference between not having spoken out and not having heard. Perhaps the issue is that you have not heard, because this is yet another platform on which we're speaking out about it. And we're saying, listen, you are handing over this issue, Mopani, today. How did you transfer the shares? Did you have recourse to Article 210? Did the Attorney General advise the President or indeed the executive that this cannot be done in the manner that they've gone about it? Have they been advised? If they've not been advised, then we know that we have a problem in some offices somewhere. Those that are supposed to be doing their job are not doing their job. And at this point, the reason we have the law that regulates how we do all these things is for purposes of accountability, for purposes of ensuring that the people participate in the process, in the processes of transference of the assets. It's different from what was happening the time President Hakainde Hichilema was put in charge of selling the national assets. It's different. Now we have a law that how you're going to dispose of national assets, and those assets include equity in certain organizations or indeed parastatals. So all that are things that have to be taken into consideration. All that require prudence, and prudence requires that you should have ears. You should be able to listen, to advise. And I am of the view, because I do not think that the issue is that there is no one who advises. I think it should be an issue of ignoring the advice, because it appears to be the tendency of this government that they think they know it all, and as such, to take advice from anyone who's outside of government is a weakness. They perceive that as a weakness, and it's because of that that they are seen to be autocratic in their approach. They are seen to be heavy-handed in their approach because they don't listen to anyone. And obviously, even the president himself says no one listens to him. How many times has he said that arrest someone at 10 hours, give them bond by 14 hours, and the next day, Graphium somebody saying no, it's not that straightforward, disagreeing with his principle. And you wonder, what sort of confusion is this? I remember someone says that whom the God wants to destroy, the first make mad. And I think this has been an epitome of madness going on in government, where there are different statements being made by different government representatives. That ought not to be the case. They should be able to speak with one voice. You can't have Kawana speaking one thing in the morning, in the afternoon you have Mwitwa speaking, saying something different. In the evenings, you have Mtolo Piri saying something different. You wonder, whom are we going to listen to? Who is fooling who? Especially that most times the statements are contradictory to that which the president has said. And as a matter of fact, most times what he says needs interpretation, and the interpretation is mostly the opposite of what he says.
Your concluding remarks.
We are in trouble. That's my concluding remark. And for the best and the good of this country, it would be best for President Hakainde Hichilema to resign.
Thanks for coming, Makebi Zulu.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, there you have it. And that was our guest this morning in Lusaka, renowned lawyer Makebi Zulu. on the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue. Thank you so much to you, our listeners, who followed the conversation and participated. And I would like to also thank our partner radio stations, iWave, Tuta FM, Spice FM, Muchinga Radio, Wave FM, for having carried this edition on their respective platforms. We will be back next week at the same time of yourselves and more so of each other. Bye-bye.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your participation.